Hi everyone, Pastor Jay here. Just giving you a little update from this coronavirus thing and where the church is at and really where we are perhaps in biblical prophecy. Let me start with that because I know this is a big question that a lot of people have. Is this the end of the world? No, it's not. But it's something that's sounding the trumpet. Hey, look up, pay attention. Jesus is coming back. It's going to get a lot worse before the end of the world, and thank God, as we read the scripture and we understand that Jesus is coming back for his church, that we are not destined to endure wrath. So we're not going to be here for the worst parts. But it doesn't mean there isn't going to be birth pains, as Jesus said, where things are going to ramp up. They're going to get closer and closer together and more intense, like a woman in labor. And I think this is part of it. What's most interesting about it, though, is that it's a dress rehearsal, I think, as you look at it, as you listen to what's going on, watch the news, God forbid, but you do, that it's a dress rehearsal for the takeover that the Antichrist is going to pull on the whole world. Now, the Antichrist is a type of person where he's not going to be, as far as we can tell from the scripture, king of the world, but definitely the most influential person over the entire world, except apparently for the Far East. And that's a whole other Bible study, but that's the end conflict of Armageddon, where the Antichrist gets into it with the kings of the East, which is a demonically driven army of vast proportions. But how does this guy come to power? And that's a big question for a lot of people. How does one get such incredible influence? Well, first of all, think about where we're at right now. People are scared. And one of the reasons why, this is something that could have happened at any time in history because of rumors of diseases and pestilences, plagues, and these sorts of things, and how they would hit various countries and cities and regions throughout all history. But now we have the mass media. And not only do we know about these things, even though in the modern Western world anyway, we have rarely experienced anything like this, at least on a large scale, since really World War I and the Spanish flu that wiped out tens of millions of people. It was a terrible, terrible time. But nobody's alive that endured that to be able to talk about it anymore. So we have forgotten. And what we have to remind us now are zombie movies. You know, the things that people watch on TV that you hear about, like The Walking Dead or The Last Man on Earth or something like that, where you have a disease that takes over and turns everybody into something terrible and deadly and the living dead and all that stuff. Listen, that's not what's going on here. We know that this flu is a bad flu. We know that it's very dangerous because how easily it can be caught by people. The contagion factor is extremely high. And because it's a respiratory flu, as you know, it will affect people who have sensitive lungs or perhaps even a heart condition or something, and it could definitely kill them. So the order for us to shelter in place, to quarantine ourselves across not only the country, but now most of the world except for parts of Africa, and that's starting to step up now, that this sort of thing is causing people to sit and think. And there's a lot of fear driving this, because even though we're supposed to shelter in place and stay away from other people so that they don't catch something, what's fascinating to me is how long the lines are to get into Costco so that people can get toilet paper. And one of the other things that is fascinating in the midst of all of this is that not only can you have difficulty finding basic supplies like toilet paper and these sorts of things. But today I was just checking. You can't find thermometers anywhere. You know, things to take your temperature. You can't find them. There's been a run on those too. Whether you try and order them online or whether you try and get them someplace else, you're not going to find them. That's the deal. People are frightened. Voluntary compliance we have on us to shelter in place or to quarantine ourselves, punctuated by the fear of this very dangerous virus, frightens the world. And what it has done is that the people of the world, largely speaking, have been incredibly compliant with all of this. And in their compliance, they've been afraid. And that fear of it's a dangerous virus. It's a dangerous flu. But it's not the worst, not even close. And yet, if somebody were to come up with something a lot worse, and then warned the world. And there were people that wanted such a person in power. It wouldn't take much, as you can tell right now, to be able to get the world in a grip and hold it. It would take very little to do it. With talks in our country of the possibility, though it hasn't happened and hopefully it won't happen, of things like the National Guard or martial law or something like that getting involved. Other countries, who knows what they're doing. Israel, it's virtually martial law there, and the lockdown is extremely heavy because it's a very small country with a very concentrated population, so they have a bigger problem than we do. But it's fear. And if even a false fear, and remember, the Antichrist is propelled by a false prophet who gives forth lying wonders, signs and miracles. They're all lies. That somebody who could use this as a lie could actually, well, at some point, very easily, not only get the world in his grip, but also gain the world's favor by perhaps presenting the cure. Who knows? That's the future. But I'm just looking at this as a dress rehearsal. How would the Antichrist come to power? And we could sit down as a think tank and think this through, but right now you can see it clear as day how easily the world will follow their fears if presented by the right people in order to shelter in place and essentially be under the control of those who control the information. I find it fascinating that just this past week, in the last few days, Tony Blair, former Prime Minister of the UK, made a statement about the coronavirus, that he said the issue should not be a national issue anymore. It should be a global issue, and he's talking politically. Now, I know it's political rhetoric, and it's the type of things that people can say, but the very idea that he would say that out loud, and to mention that it's time for the world to pull together and control this, just shows you the tipping point that we're at prophetically for the Antichrist kingdom to actually come into existence. Is it going to be soon? Couldn't tell you that. Could be 1,000 years from now, but I don't think so, because Jesus said these things are going to happen. The end has not yet come, but when you see them like labor pains, closer and closer together, more intense. And what we're seeing today is something, because of the media circumstances and the political influences, something we have never seen in history before. And that makes it incredible. So here we are. What are we going to do now? Well, here's our church update for Calvary Chapel Georgetown Divide. And I'm going to say this really quick. For those of you that aren't from Calvary Georgetown Divide, pay close attention to this because it may help you in your own church. And I know I'm going to be missing a lot of stuff too, because so many people are doing so many different and very important things. First of all, as you're sheltering in place, people are lonely. You might be lonely. Don't wait for somebody to call you. Reach out to them. Get on your phone, get on your smartphone, get on your iPhone and get on FaceTime where you can actually see somebody else's face. Talk to somebody on Skype where you do it on your computer so you can go face to face even though you can't touch the person. People need encouragement all over the place. They need to know they're not alone. They're getting bored sitting around watching TV or watching movies or cleaning the house again and again and again. And I guess I could do the dishes 5 times a day now, whatever it might be. Just remember, people need to be touched. And if you can't do it with your hands, you can do it with your voice and your concern. Give them a call, get a hold of them, email them, text them, but just let them know that you're there. And do it right now. As soon as we're done with this, just get that stuff out and contact people, because your friends, your family, your members of your church, and even some people that you haven't talked to in a long time who might not even be in the area, they're going through the same thing. Get a hold of them, encourage them. Secondly, check our church website regularly, coolcalvary.com, COOLCALVARY.com. On the homepage, when you bring it up, the first thing you're going to see is a link that says Calvary at Home. It's all the updates. It's the new things we're posting. If we have noticed that, like a letter that we need to post or a video like this video, is going to be right there on that page too. There's also some devotional videos by Pastor Britt is the one that's currently up. And of course, one of our elders, Bob Clark, he's got a devotional up there too. Jim Milne's got one that we're still working through, just cleaning it up a little bit as far as the production goes. It's very short. It's a selfie that he's done, but it's brilliant. And that's going to be up soon as well. So we have that at the website. We have sermons at the website. What we did on Sunday morning is not lost. It's recorded. So the first thing you see when you scroll down a little further at the home page, right on the welcome page, is last Sunday morning sermon. It's right there. Very challenging message, a very enlightening message, one that will probably encourage your heart and clear up a lot of things in your own head. Another thing that I wanted to let you know, please watch out for signs of depression. Nobody wants to ever admit that they have depression unless they're into that sort of thing, which means they need a lot of help. But the deal is, we can all get depressed. I know about this, and I'm sure you do too. And depression manifests itself in a lot of ways, not just feeling bad, but getting neglectful of a lot of things, and things that you really like to do, you don't like to do anymore, and what have you. Right now, it's right at the turn of March into April, and yet it's cloudy and it's kind of murky outside, and that doesn't help. They call that, I don't know who they are, but they call it SAD, seasonal affectedness disorder. I think that's how it goes. Anyway, but you know, when it's gray for a really long time, people can get depressed. Those of you in the Northwest, you know all about this sort of thing, or if you're in Ireland, yeah, you definitely know. And that's when we need each other too. So watch out for each other. If somebody is just depressed or becoming withdrawn, we don't want anybody to get suicidal. You don't want to do that either. It's possible, and people do have thoughts like that at this time. You know, not everybody's going to reach out to you, and not everybody's going to notice, but reach out to others and just say, I just need to talk. I just need to blow off some steam. Can you just sit and pray with me? And do it over the phone. Do it over, once again, FaceTime or Skype or something where you can see another person's face, or just hearing their voice. And encourage others. And the best way to be encouraged is to encourage other people. Don't wait for somebody to come and encourage you. Somebody once said the only way to have a friend is to be one. The only way to encourage yourself is to encourage somebody else. That is truly a biblical principle. Do that. Also, please don't forget to tithe. The church is still there. It's still functioning. Tithes and offerings are part of our worship to the Lord. And as the Bible always intended them to be, they do cover operating costs. They did that with the tabernacle at the time of Moses, the temples, and with the church too. So keep that in mind. You can do that right through the website, tithes and offerings. There's a little thing up on the upper menu. It even says give. Click on that. You're right at the site where you can do that. Or if you want to mail something in, you can send it to Post Office Box 247, Greenwood, California. 247, Greenwood, California, 95635, Calvary Chapel. That's our mailing address, and you could send it there. A couple more things and we're done. Food Closet is open weekly. It's considered an essential service. It's done outside as a drive-through. They need a lot of help. The help, if you're helping, is quite spread out, but we want to make sure you keep washing your hands, wear a mask if you want to, and we recommend that anyway. But we have a drive-through where people are given their groceries and greeted warmly and let them know that they're loved in the Lord. And this continues from noon to 2 o'clock every Tuesday without interruption unless something extraordinary happens, and hopefully nothing like that will happen during our time. So the Food Closet is definitely open and plans to remain open unless further notified, and we have absolutely no plans to do anything like that. Lastly, get ready to come back to church. This thing isn't going to last. Now they're talking about perhaps the end of April. Well, that means that Palm Sunday is coming up this coming Sunday, Good Friday is coming up the Friday after that, and then Easter Sunday is coming up. And we are going to have plans for that. What are they? I have no idea. We haven't got that far yet. We've never done anything like this before. So Easter Sunday, Palm Sunday, Good Friday, we're going to have, once again, Church at Home for You, videos at Calvary at Home, where you can chime in on that, or at, of course, YouTube at Jay-mccarl, that's me, of course, Jay-mccarl's channel. Just put Jay McCarl in there. It'll say channel in the search box up in YouTube, and you'll get all of this stuff, including all the past sermons, things that we've done in Israel, and all of that. So it's all there too. It's lots of places to find all the same stuff. We just want to make sure you know that it's available out there in so many different ways. But we need each other very badly, and even though we're apart from each other, praise God for modern technology that allows us to stay in communication. Once again, call each other, communicate with each other, let each other see each other's faces on computer and what have you, and just give that encouragement that people need, because this is going to be over soonish. We don't know when, but pretty soon we're all going to be back in church together again, because we need fellowship. Don't get used to staying at home and watching these videos. We need each other. We need the hugs. We need the handshakes. We need the fellowship, because the fellowship needs you. You have those gifts from God, whatever they may be. It might even be just one gift, but that's plenty. And God uses those gifts that He's given us to give to each other, to strengthen the church and build it up and make it look more like Jesus. That's why Jesus gives us those gifts. So pray about getting back together again, and that it happens soon. God bless you. Thanks for listening, and we'll give you a new update pretty soon.